I'm Sarah Janzen. I'm an assistant professor at Montana State University. I'm working on a basis project called Evaluating the Welfare Impacts of a Livestock Transfer Program in Rural Nepal. I'm working, collaborating with people who are based in the US and in Nepal. So I'm working with folks at the University of Georgia, people at International Food Policy Research Institute. It's interdisciplinary, so we have a sociologist there, and then there's an economist on that project. And then we have our partners based in Nepal at a research institute, NIPA School of Social Sciences and Humanities. We have an anthropologist and a sociologist working with us on that. And then we're also working with a very large NGO who works and operates all over the world, Heifer International. So one thing that researchers know, and that has been pretty well established in the literature, is that giving people small amounts of cash really matter for people's well-being. So if you give them a little bit of cash, and maybe you tell them that they need to use that cash to go to school, that really helps. People go to school, people eat better, children have better outcomes, and that's great. What's more recently been happening is that people have thought, well, maybe we should just give people huge grants, give them $1,000 and see what they do with it. And there's research coming out about that has really seen a lot of publicity. And through that, the public really started to raise this question of, well, should we just be giving people cash, or should we be doing what has traditionally been happening, which is give people livestock, and really that's coupled with a lot of training. So do they need money? Is that their constraint, or do they need a productive asset, and do they need to know how better to use that productive asset? We're working with Heifer International, who typically provides households with some form of livestock, and then coupled with that gift of a livestock, they also incorporate a great amount of training. So they train people in how to raise that livestock, they train them in vaccinations, they train them in animal management, they train them in animal livestock marketing, they train them in nutrition, lots of training. And what we want to do in our project is really say, what matters in that program? Is it the livestock, or is it the trainings? Is it training specific to technical skills, or is it trainings that are a little more hard to really understand what's going on, but they're designed to really empower women? And we want to try to disentangle those different types of trainings and the value that they give people from also just providing households with livestock, and what value does that have as a standalone. And when we talk about value, what I'm asking is, what are the outcomes that are a result of these transfers or training programs? So the outcomes that we're particularly interested in are income. We're looking at changes in asset levels, specifically productive asset levels, which may be livestock, but may be other things. We're interested in empowerment, so women's empowerment. Do they have control over assets? Do they have control over income? We're interested in aspirations. So how do people think about the future? Does this type of program actually change their hopes and their aspirations regarding their future income? Or their future aspirations in other contexts, like social status, or just assets in general? And then finally, we're really looking and focusing on resilience. So when large negative things happen, when shocks happen to their assets, how are people able to cope with that? And is it easier to cope when they've been through this type of program? And is it easier to cope because of the training, or is it easier to cope because they have a larger asset base? In April of 2015, there was this huge earthquake that was really devastating to a large population in Nepal. So some of the households who were supposed to receive these different packages of training and assets, shortly thereafter, their homes were completely destroyed. We've had to rejig our research design. We've had to think carefully about, basically we're dropping some of the sample from the randomized control trial. But with that, we want to continue to follow up with those households, because it's really an opportunity for research to better understand coping strategies, resilience, vulnerability. So there's these new research questions that we're really able to answer in a way that we wouldn't have before, because of this really, really unfortunate thing that happened. But we hope that we're able to learn something from it. Whether or not these programs work is a really important thing to understand for policymakers, and it's something that isn't very well known. So there's a few studies and very recent studies that have started to look at these questions. These programs have been going on for years and years and years, decades and decades, and we really don't know how well they work, or if they work, or why they work, which parts of the programs work, and that's really what we're trying to disentangle. And that's what we really want to put forth to Heifer at the end of our evaluation, and also hope to really tell policymakers, tell development practitioners, just so we have a better understanding of whether these programs work, how, why, things like that.